The stars seemed smaller from Earth, Kate thought as she gazed at the night sky from the balcony of her modest apartment. The Galactic Federation had made contact with humanity 5 years ago, and everything had changed so fast. Sometimes she still had trouble believing she was now the caretaker of an alien princess. It started as a cruel joke. The Zephyrians, a species known for their practical jokes and complex social hierarchies, had decided to send one of their royal daughters to live with. A human Kate was randomly selected from a database of potential human hosts. She had no special qualifications, no diplomatic training, just an extra bedroom in her apartment and a job as a librarian at the local community center. The official notification came on a rainy Monday morning. A simple envelope with the Federation seal. Kate thought it was a tax notice at first, but as she read the contents, her coffee mug slipped from her fingers and shattered on the kitchen floor. She had been selected for cultural exchange duty with a Zephyrian royal. No explanation, no option to decline, just a date and time for arrival. 3 days later, Kate spent those 3 days in a panic, cleaning her apartment, researching Zephyrian customs online, and calling her best friend Lori approximately 20 times. "What am I supposed to do with an alien princess?" Kate asked during their final call the night before the arrival. "I live in a 1-bedroom plus den apartment. I eat microwave dinners 4 nights a week." Lori, who worked as a diplomatic translator for the Federation embassy, laughed a little. "Look, Zephyrians are basically just like us, except blue and tall and with weird eyes. Oh, and they drink liquid metal but only on special occasions. That is not helping." Kate groaned. Lori sighed. "Listen, this is probably just some cultural misunderstanding, or maybe the princess did something embarrassing, and they want her out of the public eye for a while. Just be nice, show her around, and try not to stare at her." Moving hair Princess Nylara arrived on a Tuesday. Kate remembered that day clearly, the sleek silver shuttle landing in the parking lot of her apartment complex, drawing crowds of curious onlookers. When the door opened and Nylara stepped out, Kate felt her heart skip a beat. The alien princess stood nearly 7 feet tall with iridescent blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Her eyes were large and completely black, like pools of ink. Her long silver hair moved as if underwater, even in the still air. A Zephyrian official with a barely concealed smirk handed Kate a translator device and a thin manual titled Human Care for Beginners. Then they left Nylara, standing there with a single bag of possessions, looking simultaneously regal and completely lost. "Hello," Kate said, feeling immediately stupid for how inadequate the greeting seemed. "Greetings, human caretaker," Nylara replied, her voice melodic and strange through the translator. "I am Princess Nylara, 7th daughter of Emperor Zoth, ruler of the 12 systems of Zephyr. I am entrusted to your care until such time as my royal family deems my education in human customs complete." That was the entire introduction. A princess of an advanced alien civilization had been dropped off like a foster pet with nothing but a manual and a translator. The first week was the hardest. Kate had to call in sick to work. She spent the entire time trying to explain basic human concepts like privacy bathrooms and why we couldn't communicate. By changing skin colors, Nylara seemed perpetually confused by everything. The concept of cooking food particularly baffled her, as Zephyrians absorbed nutrients directly through their skin when exposed to certain light frequencies. The princess was horrified by the bathroom. Kate had never seen anyone so disturbed by a toilet sleep. Was another issue. Zephyrians didn't sleep exactly. They entered a meditative trance for about 2 hours, every 3 days. During this time, their hair would float straight up and their skin would pulse with faint light patterns. Kate found it unsettling to walk past the guest room and see Nylara floating 6 inches above the bed, her hair reaching toward the ceiling. By the end of the first week, Kate was exhausted and frustrated. Her apartment was too small for a 7-foot-tall alien who didn't understand personal space. Her patience was wearing thin, and worst of all, she was starting to feel sorry for Nylara, who despite her royal bearing seemed genuinely lost on the 8th day. Kate came home from grocery shopping to find Nylara sitting cross-legged on the living room floor surrounded by Kate's books. The princess had pulled nearly every book from the shelves and was flipping through them with remarkable speed, her black eyes scanning pages in seconds. "What are you doing?" Kate asked, trying to keep the annoyance from her voice. Learning, she replied without looking up. Your written language is fascinating, so inefficient yet beautiful. Kate sighed and began, putting away groceries. But when she returned to the living room, she found all the books neatly arranged back on the shelves. I have categorized them by subject, and then by author, she said. I hope this is acceptable. It was more than acceptable. It was perfect. The books were arranged better than Kate had ever managed to do herself. Thank you, Kate said, genuinely surprised. That was very thoughtful. Nylara bowed slightly. The first duty of a princess is to bring order to chaos. Something changed between them that day. A small bridge of understanding had been built. Kate realized that beneath the alien appearance and royal bearing, Nylara was simply trying to find her place in a world that made no sense to her. By the end of the second week, they had established a routine. Kate would go to work while Nylara stayed in the apartment, studying human culture through books, television, and the internet. In the evenings, Kate would answer Nylara's questions, which became increasingly complex and insightful. Why do humans keep pets that serve no practical purpose? Why do you watch fictional stories that make you cry if your leaders are elected by popular vote? Why do you complain about them so much? Kate didn't always have good answers, but she tried to explain humanity as best she could. Often their conversations would continue late into the night, Kate's perspective on her own species shifting as she saw it through alien eyes. By the end of the first month, Kate realized something surprising. She was starting to enjoy Nylara's company. The princess had a unique perspective on everything, a combination of advanced knowledge and naive curiosity that made even mundane topics interesting. The first time Nylara laughed, it startled them both. They had been watching a comedy show and a particularly silly joke had triggered the response. Nylara's laugh was like wind chimes in a breeze musical and light. I apologize, Nylara said, looking embarrassed. Such emotional displays are considered inappropriate. For Zephyrian royalty, Kate smiled. Please don't apologize, I like your laugh. Nylara seemed to consider this, her head tilting slightly. In that case, she said, I shall laugh more often for your entertainment. Kate realized then that despite the rocky start, something unexpected was happening. She was becoming friends with an alien princess, and somehow that seemed like the most natural thing in the world. 3 months into Nylara's stay on Earth, Kate finally felt brave enough to take her out in public regularly. At 7 feet tall, with blue skin and floating silver hair, Nylara attracted attention everywhere they went, but the princess handled it with surprising grace. Their first real outing beyond quick trips to the grocery store was to the community center, where Kate worked. The head librarian, Gwen, had been curious about Kate's alien houseguest and had suggested bringing her in. Nylara walked through the library with wide eyes trailing her fingers along book spines. We have records on my world, but nothing like this, she whispered. Our knowledge is stored in crystal matrices. Not these wonderful paper objects. Gwen watched with amusement as Nylara carefully opened a large art book, gasping at the colorful images inside. You know, she said to Kate, your friend has a better appreciation for books than most humans who come in here. She could help out. Kate suggested, surprising herself. The translation device works perfectly now, and she reads faster than anyone I've ever seen. That was how Nylara began volunteering at the library 3 days a week. She shelved books, helped patrons with research, and eventually started a reading group. For children, the kids were fascinated by her. Her alien appearance didn't frighten them. Instead, they asked endless questions about space, her home planet, and whether her hair could tie itself in knots. It could, but it was considered very rude in Zephyrian culture. Melody, the elderly woman who lived next door, became Nylara's first human friend outside of Kate and the library staff. Melody had lived through nearly a century of human history and had seen enough to take an alien neighbor in stride. The first time they met was when Nylara helped Melody carry her groceries up the stairs. The old woman had simply looked Nylara up and down and said, well, aren't you something blue and tall? Just like my Harold was, except for the blue part. And the hair, of course. Would you like some cookies, dear? I just baked them. From that day forward, Nylara spent many afternoons with Melody learning to bake, watching old movies, and listening to stories about Earth before the Federation contact in. Return Nylara taught Melody how to create small floating lights that could illuminate her apartment during power outages. A simple trick for Zephyrians, but magical to human eyes. Kate watched this integration with growing pride. Nylara was adapting, far better than she had expected. The princess was curious, respectful, and genuinely interested in human culture. Unlike some other aliens who had come to Earth with attitudes of superiority, Nylara approached everything as a student, eager to learn. One evening as they walked home from the library, Nylara asked Kate a question that caught her off guard. "Do you think I'm a burden to you?" Kate stopped walking, stunned by the question. "No, of course not. Why would you ask that?" Nylara looked up at the darkening sky. "I have accessed information about my placement with you." It was not a standard cultural exchange. It was meant as what you would call a prank. A joke, at both our expenses. Kate felt her chest tighten. She had suspected something like this from the beginning, from the smirking official who had dropped Nylara off without proper instructions. But hearing it confirmed made her angry. Not at Nylara, but at the Zephyrians who had arranged this. "Does it matter?" she asked. "We may have started as a joke, but look at everything you've accomplished here. You're helping at the library, the kids love you. Melody says you're the daughter she never had." Nylara smiled, a human gesture she had been practicing. "In my culture, to be sent away is shameful. To be placed with a lesser species." She stopped, seeing Kate's expression. "I apologize. That is the royal viewpoint, not mine. I have learned that humans are not lesser, merely different, and in many ways more advanced than my people, particularly in emotional intelligence." That night, Kate helped Nylara send a message to her family. It was the first contact since her arrival. Nylara spent hours composing it carefully, detailing her experiences and learnings on Earth. Kate expected it would ease the princess's homesickness. What she didn't expect was the response that came 3 days later. Nylara had been in the bathroom when the message arrived. The small crystal communication device on her bedside table pulsed with light. Kate called her, and together they watched as a holographic image appeared above the crystal. It was another Zephyrian, older than Nylara, with elaborate hair ornaments that indicated high status. Her message was brief and cold. "Nylara, 7th daughter, you have been observed engaging in undignified behavior, unbecoming of royal status. The High Council has reviewed your activities and determined that you have become contaminated by human emotionalism. Your return date is hereby postponed indefinitely. You are to remain in exile until such time as you demonstrate proper Zephyrian restraint and dignity. Communications will be limited to official status reports only." The message ended and the crystal went dark. Nylara stood perfectly still, her face unreadable. Kate didn't know what to say. "Are you okay?" seemed insufficient. Nylara turned to her black eyes, somehow conveying deep emotion despite their alienness. "They are not bringing me home," she said, her voice steady. "They consider me contaminated by human influences that bad." Kate asked carefully. A smile slowly spread across Nylara's face. "It is the greatest compliment I have ever received." 2 more months passed, and Nylara's life on Earth continued to expand. She began taking classes at the local community college, studying human literature and history. She joined a yoga class after discovering that many of the poses were similar to Zephyrian movement rituals. She even started earning a small income from her library work, which she spent mostly on books and ingredients. For baking with Melody, Kate introduced her to more friends, gradually expanding her social circle. Lori from the embassy became a regular visitor, bringing news about other aliens on Earth and helping Nylara navigate the complex bureaucracy of her resident status. Betty from Kate's book club was initially wary, but won over when Nylara revealed an encyclopedic knowledge of mystery novels. 6 months into her stay, Kate came home to find Nylara crying, something she had never seen before. Zephyrians rarely showed such raw emotion. Their culture considered it a serious breach of dignity. Kate sat beside her on the couch. "What happened?" Nylara looked up, her black eyes somehow conveying deep sadness. "My family. They sent a message." She held up the crystal, which projected holographic Zephyrian text. The message was formal and brief, but its meaning was clear. Nylara had been officially exiled from her home planet. Her royal status had been revoked. She was now considered a common citizen with no right of return. Kate felt a surge of anger. How could they do this to their own daughter? But she also felt something else: relief. She had grown attached to Nylara, and the thought of her leaving had been increasingly painful. "They say I have become too human," Nylara said, wiping away her tears, which Kate noticed were slightly silvery. "That I no longer represent the values of our empire." "They are right." Kate put her arm around Nylara's shoulders. "Are you going to be okay?" Nylara was quiet for a long moment. "I have studied Earth history," she finally said. "Many of your greatest humans were exiles or outcasts, people who did not fit within the expectations of their societies. They found new paths, new purposes." She turned to Kate with determination in her eyes. "Perhaps I too will find a new purpose here." That night they stayed up late talking about what this meant for Nylara's future. On her homeworld, she would have eventually been required to produce offspring to continue the royal lineage. Now that obligation was gone. "I have always wondered what it would be like to choose my own path," Nylara admitted. "The royal path was predetermined from birth. Every Zephyrian royal female has the same education, same duties, same eventual mating assignment." Now she looked around Kate's small apartment, which had become home. "I can become anything." Kate smiled at her friend. "Yes, you can. And whatever you choose. He'll help you." Nylara took Kate's hand, a gesture she had once found strange but now performed naturally. "I already know what I want," she said softly. "I want to build a real life here to contribute to human society. And perhaps someday," she hesitated, "to have a family of my own." Kate squeezed her hand. Then that's what we'll work toward. Neither of them realized then how complicated that simple wish would become, or how it would change not just their lives but potentially the relationship between their species forever. With her exile officially declared, Nylara threw herself into human life with new determination. She took a full-time position at the library, her knowledge of literature from across the galaxy making her an invaluable resource. She moved out of Kate's guest room and into her own small apartment in the same building. Though she still spent most evenings with Kate, one night while they were having dinner, Nylara brought up something unexpected. "I have been researching," she said, her voice soft. "I believe a Zephyrian and a human could produce offspring. It has never been done before, but our genetics are surprisingly compatible." Kate nearly choked on her pasta. "What prompted this line of research?" Nylara looked down at her plate. "On my world, producing offspring is a royal duty, not a choice, a way to continue bloodlines and secure alliances. I never thought about whether I wanted children, only that I would be required to have them." She looked up, meeting Kate's eyes. "Now that I am free of those obligations, I find myself thinking about it constantly. The idea of creating a child out of love rather than duty. It seems beautiful." Kate was surprised not by the scientific possibility, but by the implication. Was Nylara considering having a child with a human? "Are you thinking about this seriously?" Kate asked carefully. "Or is it just theoretical?" Nylara's hair moved in slow waves, a sign Kate had learned indicated deep emotion. "I am very serious," she said. "I have even contacted the Galactic Federation Medical Council to inquire about precedents. They said there are none, but that doesn't mean it is impossible." The next day, Kate introduced Nylara to her friend Amber, a biologist at the university. Amber was immediately fascinated by the genetic possibilities. "This is incredible," she said after looking at the data Nylara had collected. "Despite evolving on different planets, our DNA structure is remarkably similar. Theoretically, cross-species reproduction should be possible with some medical assistance." Amber agreed to help Nylara research further, but raised an important question. "Have you considered who the human father would be?" Nylara hadn't gotten that far in her planning. This was the delicate part. While she had made many friends, most humans still saw her as fundamentally alien. Finding someone open to such an unprecedented relationship would be challenging. Kate thought about it for several days before suggesting her cousin Noah. He was kind, intelligent, and worked as an engineer at a company developing technology based on Galactic Federation designs. He had always been fascinated by alien cultures and, unlike many humans, had made friends with several non-human species. The introduction was awkward. Noah had been told only that Kate wanted him to meet her alien friend, not about Nylara's interest in cross-species reproduction. They met at a small coffee shop near the university. Noah was of average height with dark curly hair and kind brown eyes. He seemed momentarily startled by Nylara's appearance, but recovered quickly, extending his hand in greeting. "It's a pleasure to meet you." He said, "I hear you're something of a literary expert." Nylara took his hand, carefully aware of her strength. "I enjoy human literature very much," she said. "The emotional range expressed in your fiction is unparalleled in the galaxy." Their conversation flowed easily from books to music to Noah's work, designing interfaces between human and alien technology. Nylara asked intelligent questions that impressed Noah with her quick understanding of complex concepts. Kate watched them with growing hope. They seemed to genuinely enjoy each other's company. Even when Nylara accidentally knocked over her tea with her long hair, Noah just laughed and helped clean up the spill after. Several more casual meetings, Kate finally told Noah about Nylara's interest in having a child. He was silent for a long moment before saying, "I'm flattered, I think. But this is huge, Kate. Not just for me or for her, but potentially for human Zephyrian relations. I need time to think." Noah spent 2 weeks researching everything he could about Zephyrians, their biology, culture, history, and specifically their reproductive processes. He consulted with colleagues at his company and even spoke with a Federation diplomat about the potential political implications. During this time, he continued meeting with Nylara, their conversations growing deeper, more personal. They discovered shared interests in classical music, astronomy, and, oddly enough, cooking, shows which Nylara had become addicted to, despite not eating human food. What started as scientific curiosity grew into genuine affection. Noah was fascinated by Nylara's perspective on human life. Her insights into his own species made him see his world differently. She in turn appreciated his patience and openness, the way he never made her feel alien or strange. 3 months after their first meeting, Noah invited Nylara to dinner at his apartment. He had prepared a special evening with music she enjoyed and a spectral light arrangement that approximated Zephyrian ambient lighting. "Nylara, I want to talk about the possibility of us having a child together," he said once they were comfortable. "I need you to know that if we do this, I don't want it to be a scientific experiment or just helping you fulfill a wish. I would want to be a real father involved in the child's life." Nylara's hair rippled with emotion. "On my world, fathers have little involvement with children. They provide genetic, material, and occasional guidance, but child-rearing is considered women's work." Noah nodded. "I understand our cultures are different, but if we're going to create a child together, a first of its kind, that child deserves to have both parents fully committed." Nylara considered this. The concept of a fully engaged father was foreign to her but appealing. "I would like that," she said finally. "A true family. Is that possible for us?" Instead of answering, Noah took her hand. "I don't know what this is between us yet," he said honestly. "But I feel something for you, something I've never felt before. I'd like to explore that before we make any decisions about children." That night marked the beginning of the first known human Zephyrian romantic relationship. Noah and Nylara began dating, an entirely new concept for her, but one she embraced with enthusiasm. They went to concerts, explored museums, hiked in the mountains, and spent long evenings discussing the differences and similarities between their species. Kate watched their relationship develop with a mixture of joy and worry. She was happy for her friend but concerned about the challenges they would face. Interspecies couples were still rare on Earth and often faced discrimination. 6 months into their relationship, Noah and Nylara announced they wanted to try to have a child together. They had consulted with specialists from both Earth and the Federation. Every test indicated compatibility with proper medical support. Kate organized a small gathering to celebrate their decision. Only their closest friends were invited, Amber, who would be coordinating the medical aspects. Melody, who had knitted a blue and white baby blanket, Lori from the embassy, who had helped navigate the legal issues, and Gwen from the library. Noah raised his glass in a toast to new beginnings and new family. Later that evening, when everyone else had left, Kate found Nylara standing on the balcony looking up at the stars. "Are you thinking about home?" Kate asked, joining her. Nylara shook her head. "No, I am thinking about the future. Our child will be something new in the universe, neither fully human nor fully Zephyrian. A bridge between worlds." She turned to Kate, her black eyes reflecting the starlight. "Do you think they will be accepted?" Kate didn't have an easy answer. The truth was, she didn't know Earth was still adjusting to alien contact. Some humans embraced the new galactic community. Others feared it. But she believed in the power of love to overcome differences. "Any child raised by you and Noah will be amazing," she said, "and they will have an aunt who loves them no matter what." Nylara smiled, the expression now natural on her once formal face. "I am glad the Zephyrians played their prank," she said. "Otherwise I would never have found my true home." The preparations began in earnest. Amber worked with Federation doctors to develop protocols for the pregnancy. Medical equipment was installed in Noah and Nylara's new apartment, a larger place they had purchased together. Special permits were obtained from both Earth and Federation authorities. The process was not simple. There were setbacks and complications. Their first 2 attempts failed, but Nylara and Noah remained determined. On the 3rd attempt, the impossible happened. A viable embryo formed. A new life, half human, half Zephyrian, began to grow. When the pregnancy was confirmed, Noah dropped to his knees before Nylara, tears streaming down his face. "We're going to be parents?" he whispered, pressing his ear to her still flat abdomen. "We're going to be a family." Nylara stroked his curls, her own eyes shimmering with silvery tears. "Yes," she said, "we are going to be a family, and perhaps something more. A beginning." The pregnancy was unlike any documented in human or Zephyrian medical records. In the first trimester, Nylara experienced what the doctors called adaptive symptoms. Her body was changing to accommodate the hybrid embryo. Her blue skin developed a slight opalescent sheen, and her hair grew faster than normal, requiring daily trimming. But the most remarkable change was the glow. Nylara literally began to emit light, her blue skin giving off a soft luminescence that grew brighter as the pregnancy progressed. The Federation doctors explained that this was her body creating the specific light frequencies that Zephyrian embryos needed for development. Noah was fascinated by every change he attended. Every medical appointment, kept detailed journals, and read everything available about both human and Zephyrian prenatal development. At night, he would lie beside Nylara, his hand on her growing belly. Feeling the movements of their child, Amber coordinated a team of specialists from both Earth and the Federation, monitoring the pregnancy with equipment specially designed for Nylara's unique physiology. She was both doctor and friend, spending long hours explaining each development and ensuring both parents understood what was happening. "You two are making medical history," she told them during one checkup. "The data from this pregnancy will help other interspecies couples in the future." Nylara experienced unusual cravings, not for ice cream and pickles, but for sunlight and certain frequencies of sound. She would stand in direct sunlight for hours, soaking in the rays. Sometimes she would ask Noah to play specific tones on a synthesizer, which seemed to soothe both her and the baby. By the 2nd trimester, the news had leaked, despite their attempts at privacy. Reporters began gathering outside their apartment building. Scientists requested interviews. Federation officials sent inquiries. Nylara's former royal family, suddenly interested, again sent a formal message demanding information. Kate took on the role of protective gatekeeper, fielding calls, screening visitors, and keeping the outside world at bay with fierce determination. "No one disturbs my friend without permission," she told one particularly persistent reporter. "Alien princess or not, she's just a mother-to-be who deserves privacy." Noah installed special privacy screens on their windows and took leave from his job to stay home with Nylara. They created a peaceful sanctuary in their apartment, a place where they could focus on their growing child without outside interference. Despite the challenges, their excitement only grew. They prepared a nursery painting the walls with scenes from both Earth and Zephyr. Noah built a crib that could accommodate the special lighting. Their child might need. Nilara sang Zephyrian lullabies that made the air vibrate in strange, harmonious ways. Melody knitted baby clothes specially designed for a child who might have unusual proportions. Gwen from the library collected children's books from around the world. Lori arranged for Federation children's stories to be translated into English. Everyone in their small circle contributed, making preparations for this unprecedented birth. At 7 months, they had their most important ultrasound. The doctors had been monitoring the developing baby carefully, but this was the first comprehensive scan that would show detailed images. Noah and Nylara watched in wonder as their child appeared on the screen. The baby had Nylara's elongated limbs but Noah's broader torso. The skin appeared to have a faint blue tint, and most remarkably, the child had 5 fingers on each hand, rather than the 3 that was standard for Zephyrians. "It's a girl," the doctor announced after careful examination, "and as far as we can tell, she's perfectly healthy." Noah squeezed Nylara's hand, tears in his eyes. "A daughter," he whispered. "Can you believe it?" They began discussing names, wanting something that would honor both heritages, something that would work in both human and Zephyrian society. They considered traditional names from both cultures, but nothing seemed right for this unique child. The answer came unexpectedly from Melody, who visited one afternoon bringing a small silver rattle. "What this child represents," she said, her old eyes twinkling, "is hope for the future. A sign that different species can not only coexist but create something beautiful together." "Hope," Nylara repeated the word, feeling it in her mouth. "It's a beautiful word." Noah nodded. "It feels right." So Hope became their daughter's name before she was even born. They would add Kate as a middle name in honor of the friend who had made everything possible. As the due date approached, tension grew, not just from normal prenatal anxiety, but from increasing attention from the outside world. The Federation Council had begun formal discussions about the legal status of hybrid children. Earth governments debated citizenship requirements. Scientific journals published speculative articles about what this birth might mean for galactic relations. Nylara tried to ignore the politics, focusing instead on the movements of her daughter inside her. The strange, fluttering kicks that sometimes came with small pulses of light visible through her skin. The Galactic Federation Medical Council sent their top specialists to Earth as the due date approached. They established a temporary medical facility in a private wing of the local hospital, equipping it with both human and Zephyrian technology. They ran practice drills for every possible scenario. Kate helped Nylara pack her hospital bag, adding small comforts from home: a favorite blanket scented with Zephyrian herbs, a crystal that played recordings of Noah's voice photos of friends who had become family. When the time came, it was surprisingly undramatic. Nylara woke Noah in the middle of the night, her skin glowing brighter than ever. "I think she is coming," she said calmly. They called Amber, who met them at the hospital, bringing the team of specialists to attention. Noah held Nylara's hand as monitors were attached and readings taken. The labor progressed steadily, Nylara facing the pain with remarkable composure, occasionally humming in tones that made the medical equipment vibrate. Kate arrived shortly after dawn, bringing Melody, who refused to miss this historic event. They waited in an adjoining room, receiving updates from Noah, who came out periodically, looking increasingly exhausted but happy. "She's amazing," he told them after several hours, his eyes red from tears. "She's so strong, so calm, I don't know how she does it." The actual birth, when it finally happened, 12 hours after their arrival, was attended by 6 doctors, 3 human and 3 Federation specialists. The room filled with a strange harmonic sound as Nylara gave a final push, and then a new cry joined the symphony. A human-sounding wail with an undertone of musical vibration. Hope, Kate, had entered the world. The doctors worked quickly, checking vitals, running tests confirming what appeared evident to everyone in the room. The child was healthy, perfectly formed. A miracle of genetic compatibility and medical science. She has pale blue skin that shimmered faintly in the light, Noah's brown eyes, and 10 perfect fingers and toes. When placed on Nylara's chest, the baby immediately stopped crying and began making a soft humming sound that matched her mother's heartbeat. Noah cut the umbilical cord, his hands shaking with emotion. He couldn't stop staring at his daughter, her tiny features a perfect blend of human and Zephyrian. Tears flowed freely down his face as he bent to kiss Nylara's forehead. "You did it," he whispered. "She's perfect. You're perfect. I love you both so much." Nylara smiled up at him, exhausted, but radiant. "I never knew such happiness was possible," she said, stroking their daughter's cheek with one long blue finger. "She is the best of both worlds." Kate and Melody were allowed in after the initial examinations were complete. Kate approached, the bed cautiously overwhelmed by the significance of the moment. This child represented something profound. A new beginning for two species who had once been strangers. "May I hold her?" Nylara asked, looking up at Kate. "She is named for you after all." "Hope, Kate. You should be the first after her parents." With trembling hands, Kate accepted the small bundle. The baby was lighter than she expected despite her size. Her skin was cool to the touch, with a slightly textured pattern, almost like the finest silk. Kate looked down into brown eyes that seemed too wise for a newborn. "Hello, Hope," she whispered. Your Aunt Kate. We're going to have amazing adventures together." Word spread quickly. A Zephyrian princess and a human engineer had produced the first known hybrid child in the galaxy. News outlets from Earth and beyond clamored for interviews. Scientists requested DNA samples. Politicians drafted statements about what this meant for interspecies relations. But in the quiet of the hospital room, none of that mattered. There was only a new family bonded by love stronger than biology. Two people from different worlds who had created a bridge between them. A child who represented infinite possibilities. 3 days later, they brought Hope home, to the apartment they had prepared with such care. As Noah carried the baby through the door, Nylara performed a Zephyrian blessing, moving her hands in intricate patterns above their daughter's head, creating small flickers of light that danced in the air. "Welcome home, little one," she whispered. "Your journey begins here." The first month with Hope was a blur of adjustments and discoveries. The baby had unique needs that neither human nor Zephyrian parenting books had prepared them for. She required daily sun baths to absorb nutrients just like her mother, but also needed formula specially designed by Amber and the Federation doctors. She slept in 4-hour cycles, followed by 2 hours of alert wakefulness, when her skin would pulse with faint patterns of light. Noah took extended leave from his job, devoting himself entirely to his new family. He learned to interpret Hope's different cries, distinguishing between hunger, discomfort, and the strange humming she made when she wanted to be held near a window for sunlight. He mastered the art of changing diapers. With a baby, whose legs were slightly longer than human infants and whose skin sometimes emitted light, Nylara adapted to motherhood with a grace that surprised even her. She found that many of the royal protocols she had been raised with were actually useful with an infant. The precise scheduling, the attention to environmental details, the careful observation of subtle changes. All skills that had been drilled into her as a princess now served her as a mother. Kate visited almost daily, bringing books for Hope. Mostly Earth children's classics, but also some Federation stories that Lori had helped translate. She would read aloud while holding the baby, watching in fascination, as Hope seemed to respond to the rhythm of language, her tiny fingers reaching toward the pages, her skin sometimes changing shades with excitement. Melody became an honorary grandmother, knitting tiny sweaters with special openings to accommodate Hope's occasional light emissions and telling stories about her own children now grown and living far away. The elderly woman treated the half-alien baby with the same matter-of-fact affection she showed to all children, seeing past the blue skin to the universal needs of an infant for love and security. For those first weeks they maintained their privacy, allowing only close friends to visit. But they knew the outside world was waiting, increasingly curious about the first hybrid child. Reports and rumors circulated. Some claimed the baby had extraordinary abilities. Others suggested she was a scientific breakthrough that could lead to new medical treatments for both species. Politicians on both sides debated the implications for immigration law and citizenship rights. When Hope was 6 weeks old, the Zephyrian royal family sent another message, this one delivered by a high-ranking official who arrived at their apartment unannounced. The official, A tall, austere Zephyrian with elaborately braided hair looked with undisguised curiosity at Noah and the baby before addressing Nylara, former princess. Nylara, the High Council has reviewed the situation and determined that your offspring represents a significant genetic achievement. As such, the child is claimed as property of the Zephyrian royal house and must be returned to our homeworld for proper study and upbringing. Noah instinctively moved between the official and Hope, who was sleeping in her bassinet. His face hardened with a determination Kate had never seen before. "My daughter is not property," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "She is a citizen of Earth born here under Federation medical supervision. She is going nowhere." The official looked surprised, clearly, unaccustomed to being challenged. "Our claim supersedes Earth law. The child carries royal Zephyrian genetics." Nylara stepped forward, her full height imposing even to another Zephyrian. "I renounced my royal status when you exiled me," she said. "I am a private citizen now, as is my daughter. You have no claim on either of us." The official produced a crystal document. Zephyrian law states that all genetically novel offspring with royal lineage belong to the state, regardless of the status of the parent. This escalated quickly into a legal battle that spread across 2 worlds and into the Federation courts. Earth attorneys argued for parental rights and birthright citizenship. Federation mediators proposed compromise solutions. Zephyrian representatives insisted on their traditional claims to royal offspring. Through it all, Noah and Nylara kept Hope sheltered from the controversy, continuing the peaceful routine they had established: sunbaths in the morning, formula at precise intervals, afternoon walks in the park with a special canopy to protect her sensitive skin from too much direct light, bedtime stories in 2 languages. When Hope was 3 months old, the Federation Supreme Council issued their ruling, the child Hope. Kate was legally recognized as a citizen of both Earth and the Federation with full rights and protections. The Zephyrian claim was rejected on the grounds that Nylara's exile had legally severed her royal connections before conception. Furthermore, the ruling established precedent for all future hybrid children, guaranteeing them the right to remain with their parents regardless of species or origin. The ruling was celebrated as a landmark decision for interspecies rights across the galaxy. News coverage shifted from sensationalism to more thoughtful discussions about the future of a truly integrated galactic community. As the legal pressure eased, Noah and Nylara cautiously began introducing Hope to a wider circle. Amber continued to monitor her development, documenting each milestone for both medical records and the baby's own history. At 4 months, Hope rolled over, her movements more fluid than a human baby. At 5 months, she began making sounds that combined human babbling with Zephyrian tonal patterns. At 6 months, she started reaching for objects, with remarkable coordination, her fingers grasping with precision, unusual for her age. Most remarkably, at 7 months, Hope began to exhibit traits that belonged to neither parent species. Her skin could change color slightly with her emotions, a skill Zephyrians had lost generations ago through selective breeding among royalty. She could focus on distant objects with unusual clarity, suggesting enhanced vision, and most surprisingly, she seemed to perceive sound patterns that were inaudible to either humans or Zephyrians, reacting to harmonics that specialized equipment could detect, but not living ears. "She is not just a combination of our traits," Amber explained after one examination. "She is something new. Her hybrid genetics have activated capabilities that may have been dormant in both species." Noah and Nylara were not concerned with their daughter's unique abilities. Only with her happiness. They created a home filled with love music and stories from 2 worlds. They introduced her to the natural beauty of Earth, taking her to forests, mountains, and oceans. They shared Zephyrian cultural traditions, adapting them for their Earth life. Kate remained a constant presence in Hope's life, fulfilling her role as aunt with enthusiasm. She documented the baby's growth through photographs and journal entries, creating a record of this unprecedented childhood. She read to Hope daily, believing that stories would help her understand both of her heritages. As Hope grew, the world around her changed too. Other interspecies couples, emboldened by Noah and Nylara's example, began having children of their own. A small community formed, families supporting each other through the unique challenges of raising hybrid children. The Federation, established special educational protocols recognizing that these children might have different learning needs and abilities. When Hope was 10 months old, another message arrived from Zephyr. This one addressed to Nylara, Noah, and Hope from Nylara's youngest sister, the only member of the royal family who had opposed her exile. The message was simple. I wish to meet my niece. The politics of our world are changing. Your daughter has become a symbol even here of new possibilities. Would you consider a visit under Federation diplomatic protection? After careful consideration and many discussions, they agreed. A journey was arranged. Noah, Nylara, and Hope, accompanied by Kate as family support, would visit Zephyr for 3 days under the protection of Federation peacekeepers. The visit would be private, not a state occasion, just a family meeting. The journey to Zephyr took 2 weeks aboard a Federation vessel. Hope adapted to space travel with ease, floating in zero-gravity sections of the ship, with natural grace that delighted the crew. She showed no fear of the alien environments, only curiosity, her brown eyes wide as she absorbed new experiences. The landing on Zephyr was tense. Security was tight. Federation representatives flanked the family as they disembarked, Noah carrying Hope protectively in his arms. Kate staying close to Nylara, whose face revealed nothing of her emotions at returning to the world that had rejected her. Nylara's sister Alara was waiting in a private reception area looking much like Nylara but younger, with simpler hair ornamentation indicating lower status. Her formal royal bearing dissolved the moment she saw Hope. The baby looked back at this new Zephyrian with interest, her skin shifting slightly to a deeper blue that almost matched her aunt's. She recognizes family, Ilara said in wonder. May I hold her? Noah hesitated, then carefully transferred Hope to her aunt's arms. The baby reached up immediately, touching Ilara's face with curious fingers. Then, to everyone's surprise, she made a perfect Zephyrian greeting, sound a complex tonal pattern that infants on this world didn't master until much older. Ilara looked up at Nylara, tears in her eyes. She belongs to both worlds, she said. And perhaps she will help build bridges between them. Our royal house has been wrong about many things. We are beginning to see that now. That visit marked the beginning of a gradual reconciliation, not just between Nylara and her family, but between two approaches to life. The Zephyrian emphasis on order, protocol, and dignity balanced by the human embrace of emotion, individuality, and change.